November 2, 2010. Redwood, Oregon. The sky had just begun to dim when the dusty cardboard box was placed on the donation counter of the St. Mercy thrift store. It was an ordinary Tuesday, slow and drizzly, the kind that made the windows fog over and the store smell faintly of mildew and old books. Lena Rourke, assistant manager and part-time volunteer, barely noticed the man who dropped it off. She remembered he wore a green parka, hood up, face shadowed. No receipt, no words, he simply left the box and walked out, disappearing into the rain like a ghost. She opened the box absent-mindedly. Mostly junk, yellowed paperbacks, chipped mugs, some VHS tapes without sleeves. One tape, though, stood out, black, unmarked except for a piece of masking tape across the front. On it, in shaky handwriting, were the words. Thanksgiving 1990, Mary and Alice. Lena didn't recognize the names, but there was something unsettling about the label. Something old and personal. On a whim, she took the tape home with her. That night, she rummaged through her garage for the old VHS player she hadn't used in years, hooked it up to the TV in her den, and slid in the tape. The screen flickered. Static. Then an image emerged, shaky, home video style, like someone holding the camera in their hands. A woman in her early 30s stood in a cramped kitchen with dated yellow wallpaper. She had dark auburn hair, pulled back in a ponytail, and wore a sweater with a turkey embroidered on it. She was laughing, holding a little girl, maybe 5 or 6, who was squirming in her arms, giggling uncontrollably. "Say hi to Grandma," the woman said, turning toward the camera. "Hi Grandma," the girl chirped. The footage played for about 20 minutes, family scenes, cooking, laughter, the kind of mundane moments only a family would treasure. But something about it, maybe the faded colors, maybe the way the woman kept glancing off camera like she was nervous, made Lena uneasy. She paused it on a frame and stared. The woman. Something about her face. She Googled Mary and Alice Thanksgiving 1990 Oregon. Nothing. Then she searched missing persons. It didn't take long to find them. Mary Genevieve Walsh and her daughter Alice Marie Walsh, last seen in Redwood, Oregon, March 3, 1991. They had gone to the grocery store and never come back. No signs of struggle. No witnesses. The case had long gone cold. Lena's heart pounded. The tape, it had been filmed just months before they vanished. And now, 19 years later, it showed up in her hands. November 4, 2010. Redwood, Oregon. By the next morning, Lena Rourke couldn't shake the feeling the tape had left her with. She hadn't told anyone about it. Not yet. Not the volunteers at St. Mercy, not even her fiancé, Darren. The idea that she was now holding something that could reignite a 19-year-old missing persons case gnawed at her like an itch behind her ribs. She called in sick and sat at her kitchen table with her laptop, replaying the tape again and again, pausing it at every detail, the wallpaper, the fridge magnets, the floral dish towels. The last frame showed Mary helping Alice tie her shoes at the foot of a staircase. There was a front window behind them, dusty blinds half pulled up. Outside, a black mailbox with peeling white numbers. 13,722. That was her first clue. Lena cross-referenced Redwood's public address records and ran a property search for the 1990s. It didn't take long to find it, 13722, Willow Grove Road. A small 2-bedroom craftsman-style house on the edge of town, surrounded by Douglas firs, barely visible from the main road. It was still standing. Still owned, though not by the Walshes. Lena drove there that same afternoon, heart thudding in her chest. The house on Willow Grove. The house sat half-hidden behind a rusted iron gate, leaning slightly with age, its porch sagging under the weight of moss and time. Paint peeled from the siding like sunburnt skin. Wind chimes clinked lazily in the breeze. A woman opened the door when Lena knocked. She was in her late 50s, wearing a thick flannel robe, smoking a cigarette like it was part of her hand. Her name was Dolores Weems, and she'd been renting the place for 10 years. Lena introduced herself carefully, didn't mention the tape, just said she was researching old homes in the area, that she was interested in the Walsh family. Dolores squinted at her. "You're not the first to come sniffing around about them," she said. "Cops used to come by every few years, then stopped. Nothing ever turned up." She let Lena in. The interior was almost entirely different now, walls repainted, floors redone, but small hints of the past remained. The kitchen still had that odd, narrow counter by the window. And the staircase in the front hall was unmistakable. Lena found herself staring at the spot where the last frame of the tape had been shot. "Did anything ever?" "I don't know, feels strange here?" Lena asked, carefully. Dolores exhaled smoke through her nose. "You mean besides the animals not going near the basement? The pipes rattling when no one's using water? Or the damn light in the upstairs hall turning itself on sometimes?" Lena stared. "I'm not saying ghosts or any of that. I don't believe in that crap. But this place is off. Always has been. I leave a night light on for a reason." Lena nodded slowly. "Did you ever find anything from them? Old papers, photos?" "Just a drawer full of expired coupons and a baby sock behind the stove." Dolores stubbed out her cigarette. "That was years ago." But Lena noticed something. In the hallway closet, the one under the stairs, the inside paneling had a different shade near the bottom corner. Like something had once been nailed shut. She made a note. The police file. That evening, Lena visited the Redwood Police Department and requested access to public records about the Walsh case. It took some wrangling, but she eventually found an officer who had been new to the force in '91 and still remembered the case. His name was Detective Marvin Kent, now retired but still hanging around the station part-time doing admin work. "I was a rookie when Mary and Alice vanished," Kent said, thumbing through a dusty manila file marked, Walsh, missing. "The kind of case that stays with you. Quiet family. No history. No signs of domestic trouble. Just, gone. Was there any footage like the tape I found?" Lena asked, cautious. He looked up. "What tape?" She explained, carefully, leaving out where she got it. Kent blinked slowly, then leaned back. "No. There was one photo we got from a neighbor. Polaroid. Mary and the girl sitting on the porch. That's all. Never any video. That would have been something. Was the husband ever a suspect?" "Briefly. He'd already been divorced from Mary for about 2 years. Lived in Sacramento. Alibi checked out. He drove up when they disappeared, helped pass out flyers." Kent paused. "I remember he brought Alice a stuffed bear on that last Christmas. Said he kept it in his car for months." Lena asked if she could scan a few documents. Kent hesitated, then nodded. "Hell, maybe you'll turn something up," he said, eyes tired but curious. "The town gave up. But I never could. The bear." Back at home, Lena rewatched the tape, this time looking not just at faces, but objects. In the background of the final kitchen shot, behind a cereal box and a carton of orange juice, was something soft and brown and small. She paused, zoomed in. A stuffed bear. Worn. One button eye missing. She compared it to the scanned photo from the file. The bear was there too, on the porch, in Alice's lap. Lena leaned back, shivering. If that bear had come from the father, then why was it in the house? He claimed he'd last seen his daughter Christmas 1990. But the video was marked Thanksgiving 1990, and the bear was already in the house. Redwood, Oregon. March 3, 1991, Sunday. It was unseasonably warm that morning, the kind of early spring day that tricks people into thinking winter is over. The dogwoods were just starting to bud along Willow Grove Road. At exactly 9:12 a.m., Mary Walsh called her neighbor, Sharon Dietz, and asked if she could watch Alice for the afternoon. Mary had planned to go into town, pick up groceries, and meet with someone, she didn't say who. Sharon, who had 3 children of her own, said yes without asking many questions. She'd watched Alice a dozen times before. Sweet kid. Quiet. Always had a crayon in her hand. But Mary never dropped her off that day. Sharon remembered standing at the window around 10 a.m., watching the wind bend the trees. She saw Mary's car pull out of the driveway, heading east. Toward the town center. Alice was in the passenger seat, waving at something unseen. That was the last confirmed sighting of either of them. Back to 2010, Lena's digging deepens. Lena sat alone in her living room, the VHS tape on the floor in front of her like it might hiss if touched. It had been 3 days since she'd found it. Since then, she had read the full police report 3 times and watched the tape at least 15. Something gnawed at her. The timestamp was wrong. The handwriting on the tape said Thanksgiving 1990, but the footage was not from November. The trees outside the window weren't bare, they were budding. And in one scene, through the kitchen window, a calendar was briefly visible, March 1991. It wasn't Thanksgiving. It was filmed just days, or even hours, before they vanished. She began searching for estate sales, old donations, storage auctions, any sign that other tapes might have been dumped into the world. She even posted anonymously on local forums, asking if anyone had seen unmarked VHS tapes in recent thrift boxes. One reply caught her eye. A user calling themselves DustHearts91 sent her a message. I bought a box of tapes from St. Mercy last month. Mostly garbage. One of them had no label. A woman and a little girl. Looked old. Like early 90s. I donated it to the Redwood Public Library AV archive. Lena's heart raced. She called the library. The second tape. The Redwood Public Library was a small, 2-story red brick building near the courthouse. The audiovisual archive was a dusty corner room full of old microfilm, cassette tapes, and obsolete tech. A volunteer named Gerald brought Lena the unmarked VHS. It had already been digitized. She watched it on one of their old machines, heart thudding. The footage was darker. Blurry. The same kitchen, but the angle was strange, almost hidden, like it had been set up secretly. No one looked at the camera this time. Mary was sitting at the table with a man. He had his back to the lens. Medium height, dark curly hair. Wearing a tan trench coat. The footage had no sound, but their conversation was intense, Mary's face tight, her hands clenching a mug. At one point, she stood, walked to the sink, and turned her back. The man stood too. She flinched. Lena paused the frame, leaned in. There was something unsettling about the man's posture. Controlling. Familiar. In the background, Alice peeked around the doorway, holding the bear. Then the tape glitched. Cut to black. Lena sat back in her chair, her pulse loud in her ears. This wasn't just a family video. This was a recording of something private. Secret. Dangerous. And someone had kept it, someone had chosen when to release it. 1991, what the police missed. In the original police report, there was mention of a local man named Ronald "Ronnie" Hessel. A freelance videographer who used to go door to door offering to convert family tapes to VHS or film holiday gatherings for cash. He was questioned after Mary and Alice vanished. According to his file, he'd filmed birthday parties in the neighborhood, including one for the Dietz kids next door. He had a small studio behind a laundromat. But he moved out of Redwood 3 weeks after the Walshes disappeared. Left no forwarding address. No charges. No links to the family, officially. But now, 2 decades later, it looked like someone had continued to edit and keep those tapes. Was it Ronnie? Or someone else? The crawlspace. Driven by a creeping dread, Lena returned to the house on Willow Grove. She brought coffee and pastries for Dolores and asked for one more look around. This time, she brought a flashlight. She knelt inside the closet under the stairs, where the paneling had seemed strange. A few taps and the wood creaked, loose. Lena pried it open carefully. Behind the panel was a narrow gap in the wall, dusty, webbed with cobwebs. Inside was a box. Old, decaying cardboard sealed with yellowed tape. Lena's hands shook as she pulled it out. Inside. A second stuffed bear, identical to the one in the video, but this one had both eyes. A photo of Mary and Alice at what looked like a campground, both smiling, but Mary's face bore a shadow of worry. And, at the bottom, another VHS tape, this one labeled in the same shaky handwriting as the first. March 2, 1991, after dark. Lena waited until she was back in her apartment, door locked, blinds closed, every light on. She didn't know why, maybe because of the stillness of the house on Willow Grove, or the way Dolores had looked at her when she left, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. She placed the third tape into the VCR. Took a deep breath. Pressed play. The footage begins. The screen crackled, then settled into static-laced darkness. The timestamp in the corner blinked. March 2, 1991, 9:47 p.m. The shot is from inside the house. This time, the angle is lower, almost floor level. A hallway, dimly lit. Footsteps can be heard off-screen, soft and slow. Then the camera shifts slightly, as if moved by someone crawling. A door opens. Mary walks into frame, barefoot, in a bathrobe. She's holding a phone. Her voice is quiet but anxious. No, not tonight. I don't want her around him anymore. He's not the same. There's a pause. Then you need to come get us. Please. I think he's been here. I found the bear on the porch. She hangs up and locks the door. Then she walks down the hall toward Alice's room. The camera remains still. Watching. After several seconds, a soft clicking sound is heard. Then, in the lower right of the frame, movement. A boot, just the toe, comes into view. Someone was already in the house. The tape glitches briefly. When the image returns, the hallway is empty. Then, the same bear, the one Lena had found in the crawlspace, appears in the frame. It's been placed in front of the camera. Almost like a signature. Lena's reaction. Lena paused the tape, her hand trembling. She rewound, frame by frame, to the moment the door opened. Tried to catch a glimpse of whoever was in the house. Nothing clear. Just shadows. But the way the bear was placed, it felt deliberate. She scribbled notes. Replayed the audio. Enhanced the static in her editing software. One thing stood out, in the background of Mary's call, there was a faint hum. A kind of buzzing, like an old camera running. Someone had been recording even when Mary didn't know it. Lena couldn't shake the feeling that these tapes weren't just forgotten. They were planted. Online clues. She returned to her message thread with Dust Hearts 91, asking if he remembered where he got the original batch of tapes. Hours passed. Then a reply. I got them from a garage sale. House near the old tracks, burned down years ago. Everything was smoke-damaged. I only kept the box because it had a weird label, for the archive, 1991 to 1992. Lena froze. The archive. She went back to the original VHS, the one from the donation bin. Rewatched the static at the end. For a split second, less than a frame, there was an image that flickered before the tape ended. She slowed it down to 1/60th speed. It was a shot of the outside of the house, but taken from across the street, through a car window. Reflected in the glass was the silhouette of a man with a camera, and something taped to the dashboard. A sticker with the words, Archive Lot 07B. Phone call start. That night, Lena's phone rang twice. The first time, silence. The second time, a recording played. A woman's voice, old, broken, barely audible under layers of static. You shouldn't have opened it. Then a click. Lena pulled the battery out of her phone. Sat on her kitchen floor, staring at the third tape. She no longer felt like an observer. She felt like someone was watching her now. Back to 1991, March 4th. Police found Mary's car parked behind an old lumber yard outside of town. Doors locked. No signs of struggle. Inside was Alice's drawing book, and a single crayon, snapped in half. No fingerprints. No blood. Just, absence. And something else, something that wasn't made public in 1991 but was noted in the original case file. In the glove compartment, officers recovered a receipt for camera equipment dated February 26, 1991. Buyer name smudged. Cash purchase. Handwriting possibly female. The officer who wrote the note, Detective Ezra Madsen, retired a year later. He died in 2003. His last known possession, according to his estate inventory. Box of unmarked VHS tapes. Donated to St. Mercy Mission. Closing scene of the tape. Lena forced herself to finish the third tape. The last minute was the most disturbing. A slow pan through Alice's bedroom. Dolls arranged in a circle. The camera turned slightly, not enough to show the person holding it, but enough to catch a sliver of the mirror. For a split second, Lena saw part of a reflection. A shoulder. A piece of flannel. A red scar near the neck. Then black. No credits. No sound. Just the hum of the VCR winding back. March 11, 2010, 12:24 a.m. Lena couldn't sleep. The apartment felt wrong. Like the temperature had dropped a few degrees, even though the thermostat read 70. She sat on the floor with a notepad, scribbled a timeline of events, trying to line up the evidence from the tapes, the case file, and what Dust Hearts 91 had told her. Then something struck her. Detective Ezra Madsen. She opened her notes again. Madsen was 53 in 1991. That meant he was born in the late 1930s. A career detective with a reputation for chasing cold cases to the edge of obsession. What if the tapes she was watching weren't just evidence? What if they were his notes? St. Mercy Mission, March 12. The next morning, Lena visited St. Mercy Mission, the donation center where the first tape had surfaced. The receptionist, a tired man named Jordan, checked the logbook. You said VHS box. That'd be lot 07B. Came in January last year. Donor marked as anonymous. Can I see where you keep the unsorted donations? He gave her a look, then led her to the back. Rows of plastic bins, some labeled, most not. She searched through them until she found one, faded black box with a cracked lid. A white sticker on the side. Archive Lot 07B, do not discard. Inside were more tapes. At least 20. Most were unmarked. A few had handwritten labels. Alice, February 1991, Carousel. M. Phone call, March 2nd. Garage, night. Be positive. She didn't know what that last one meant. Lena carefully took 6 tapes and left a note saying they were checked out for research. As she walked out, Jordan called after her. You know, you're not the first one to ask about Lot 07B. She turned. What do you mean? Couple months back. Guy in a baseball cap. Said he was following up for a podcast. Had a weird voice. Kept looking at the fire escape. Lena felt a chill crawl up her spine. The 4th tape, Be Positive. Back at her apartment, Lena inserted the next VHS, the one labeled Be Positive. It was the darkest yet. It opened on what appeared to be a basement, one Lena hadn't seen in the other videos. The lighting flickered. There was a stain on the floor. A voice, off-screen. You don't remember. But you were here. The camera panned slowly to the right. A metal chair, bolted to the floor. Leather restraints on the arms. Then, a girl's voice, muffled, shaky. I don't like the red light. Then static. Lena hit pause. Her hands were clammy. Her heart thudded in her chest. She rewound the video slowly, trying to listen for the voice again. It sounded young. Couldn't have been older than 6. But something about it, something in the cadence, sounded familiar. A letter from 1992. That night, Lena revisited the case file she'd copied from the Public Records Office. She flipped through pages until she found a note in the margin of a photocopied document. Letter sent to Officer Madsen. March 1992, from anonymous P.O. Box in Tulsa. No copy of the letter included. She decided to visit the Tulsa PD Records archive the next day. What she found there changed everything. A worn-out envelope in a sealed evidence bag, marked. Attention, Madsen, for your eyes. Inside was a typed letter, and signed. There are 2 stories. The one on the news. And the one we filmed. If you really want to know what happened to the girl, stop looking in the woods. Look under the house. Look where the sound doesn't echo. The mother made her choice. The girl didn't get one. Lena read the letter 3 times. Under the house. Could that mean a basement? But the house on Willow Grove didn't have one. She was sure. Unless. A hidden basement. She drove back to the house. This time, she waited until nightfall. Dolores wasn't home. The property was dark, but the back gate was unlocked. She used a flashlight to scan the base of the house. And that's when she saw it, barely visible behind a bush, a discolored square of wood set into the ground. Like a storm hatch. She pried it open. A short staircase descended into concrete darkness. The air smelled sour, like mildew and something else, something metallic. At the bottom, Lena found the room from the tape. The chair. The flickering light. The same damn stain on the floor. And in the corner, a dusty shelf. On it, a stack of VHS tapes wrapped in a faded red scarf. All labeled. Each with dates from 1991. Flashback, February 17, 1991. Lena brought one tape home and played it immediately. The camera is shakier than the others. Seems like the person holding it is nervous. Mary is in the shot, talking to someone off-screen. No more games. I told you, we don't want to be part of it anymore. The man's voice, distorted. She's special. And you knew that when you signed. You don't get to change the contract now. Mary moves closer to the camera, face tight with fear. She's a child. She's ours. The video ends. Lena's realization. Lena stared at the screen, breathless. Mary had been involved in something. Something she wanted to escape. Something involving Alice, and signing something. And Lena, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd heard that distorted voice before. Not in her work. Not on the tapes. In her own childhood. March 14, 2010, 2:13 a.m. Lena sat cross-legged on the floor of her tiny apartment, surrounded by scattered VHS tapes, notes, and a half-empty cup of black coffee. The glow of the laptop screen illuminated her tired face as she stared at a faded photograph she'd pulled from an old family album, a picture of a little girl with curly hair, a warm smile, and eyes too familiar to ignore. The girl looked almost exactly like her. Except the date scribbled on the back said 1991, the same year Alice and Mary vanished. A sudden rush of memories flooded Lena's mind. Fragments of forgotten voices, dreams she'd buried, the persistent feeling of a locked door inside her mind she never dared to open. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone and dialed. "Mom. It's me," she whispered once the call connected. The conversation. Her mother's voice was hesitant, weary. "Lena, honey, it's late. What's wrong?" "Mom, I've been looking into the Alice and Mary case. I found tapes, a basement, some letters. And, I think I recognize the voice on one of the tapes. It sounded like someone I knew. Someone from my childhood. Lena, you know some things are better left alone. But what if I'm connected? What if I'm part of this?" The line went silent for a moment. "Promise me you won't go digging any deeper. Please." Before Lena could respond, the call ended. Back to the basement. Determined, Lena returned to the old Willow Grove house the next day. She found a small, worn notebook hidden behind the VHS tapes on the dusty shelf. Its cover read simply, "Madsen's Notes, Confidential." Inside, in cramped handwriting, were detailed accounts of interviews, locations, times, and cryptic messages. Subject: Mary refused to cooperate after February 17. Witness reports hearing screams in the early hours. Basement room confirmed as holding site. No official records of this room in county archives. Alice's last known sighting, playground, March 1. Unclear if she was with mother or alone. Phone call recordings suggest involvement of third party, possibly coercion or threat. Lena's fingers traced the ink stains. Who was this third party? Why had Mary disappeared with her daughter? A forgotten phone number. Tucked between pages was a faded business card. It read, H. Reynolds, Private Investigator. And beneath it, a phone number with an area code Lena didn't recognize. Her pulse quickened. Could this Reynolds be the third party, or someone trying to help? She made a mental note to try calling. The night that changed everything. As she turned off the basement light, Lena noticed something carved into the wooden door frame. "They're watching." A cold shiver ran down her spine. Was the cryptic warning meant for her? Or was it left years ago by someone else, someone desperate to expose the truth? Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the old house. And somewhere, in the darkness, a clock ticked closer to the hour of secrets. March 17, 2010, 8:42 p.m. Lena sat in a quiet cafe on the outskirts of Tulsa, her laptop open but forgotten. Across the table sat an older man with tired eyes and a grizzled beard, Henry Reynolds. He introduced himself simply, but Lena had the feeling there was much more beneath the surface. "I knew Mary. More than most did. She came to me when things got too dark." "Why haven't you spoken to the police before?" "Because the police weren't the ones who needed help back then. Some things can't be fixed with badges." Henry's voice dropped to a whisper. "I was hired by Mary's sister, she wanted to find her. But every time I got close, someone warned me off. Threats, shadows in the night. They knew what I was digging into. Lena leaned forward. Who are they? Henry looked around, eyes flickering nervously. That's the million-dollar question. Officially, there's no they. But the truth is messy. A secret meeting. Henry pulled out a folded newspaper clipping dated April 1991. The headline read, "Local woman disappears after alleged cult investigation." Underneath was a blurry photo of Mary, looking worn but defiant. Mary was involved with something, a group with roots in this town. Some call it a cult. Others say it's a secret society. And Alice? Collateral damage. Children were never supposed to get involved. But Mary wouldn't leave her daughter behind. Lena felt the weight of the revelation pressing down on her. The tapes and the cult. Henry continued. Those VHS tapes. Mary recorded them herself. A desperate plea for help. Proof of what was happening, evidence to expose them. Why were they donated anonymously? To keep them safe. She knew whoever took them wouldn't want them out in the open. Lena asked quietly. Did Mary leave any clues about what happened after? Henry hesitated. There's one tape no one has seen in years. The one that could break the case wide open. Where is it? That's the problem. It vanished. An ominous warning. As Lena prepared to leave, Henry's voice lowered further. Be careful, Lena. This goes deeper than you think. People don't just disappear without reason, and sometimes, those reasons are better left buried. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the cafe windows. Lena's phone buzzed. A text message. Stop digging. Or you'll be next. No sender. March 19, 2010, 11:45 p.m. Lena walked briskly down the dimly lit street. The cold night air bit at her cheeks, but she barely noticed. Her mind raced with Henry's words, the secret society, the missing tapes, the threats. A strange text message, a mysterious phone call, everything blurred into a frightening noise. Suddenly, she felt it, someone was following her. Her heart began to pound faster. She turned around quickly, but there was no one. Still, the feeling wouldn't leave her. Stop digging. Or you'll be next. Echoed in her mind. The encounter. The next day, while working at the library, a stranger wearing dark sunglasses approached her. You shouldn't be looking into this, Lena. The voice was cold and emotionless. Lena fought to keep calm. Who are you? What do you want? It's none of your business. He placed an envelope on the table and quickly left. Inside was a photo. Lena and her mother, at that very 1991 celebration, standing next to people she had never seen before. On the back was one phrase. They're closer than you think. Unearthing the past. The next day, Lena returned to the Madsen house. She had to find the missing tape, the last key to the mystery. Going down to the basement, she discovered a hidden niche behind a wall. Inside was an old, battered box. It contained a stack of worn journals and one unlabeled VHS tape. Her heart trembled as she inserted the tape into the player. The tape. The screen flickered to life, revealing a shaky silhouette of a woman, Mary. If you're watching this, it means I'm gone. But they must know. They must be stopped. I recorded everything, the rituals, the people, the lies. My daughter is safe, somewhere. I left clues, follow the signs. The tape abruptly cut off. Lena turned off the player, breathing heavily. The pursuit. That same evening, as Lena walked home, she noticed a car following her closely. She quickened her pace, ducked into an alley, but the car kept following. Panicked, she called Henry Reynolds. "They're here. I'm not alone. You need to meet me. Tomorrow. At the old park. March 20th, 2010, 7:15 p.m. The old park was a forgotten place, overgrown with weeds and shadowed by towering oak trees. Lena's heart pounded as she approached the rusty bench where Henry Reynolds said he would meet her. Henry was already there, his eyes scanning the surroundings like a hunted man. "They're watching you," he said grimly. "And they've been watching for years." "Who? The cult? The secret society?" Henry nodded. "But it's bigger than that. Powerful people, connected to those in the government and law enforcement. Why didn't anyone stop them before? Because no one wanted to believe it. The tapes you found, they're more than evidence. They're a map to the truth, if you know how to read them." He handed Lena a folded map, old and creased. "Start here," he said, pointing to a spot marked with a faded red X. Lena swallowed hard, knowing this journey would take her deep into the darkest corners of the past. A new lead. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She played the mysterious tape over and over, looking for any hidden message. Suddenly, she noticed a faint shadow moving behind Mary in one scene, a figure cloaked in darkness, barely visible. She paused the tape and enhanced the image on her laptop. The figure was holding something, a key. Secrets in plain sight. Lena traced the location marked on the map, an abandoned farmhouse on the edge of town. The next morning, she drove there, her hands trembling. The house was crumbling, its windows boarded up. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. Dust filled the air. In the corner, a small locked box lay half buried under debris. Using the key from the tape, or so she hoped, she tried to unlock it. Click. Inside, she found a bundle of letters, old photographs, and another tape. March 21st, 2010, 9 p.m. Lena arrived at the old park just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, twisting shadows across the cracked pavement. Henry was already waiting, leaning against a graffiti-covered wall, his face pale in the fading light. "I'm glad you came," he said quietly. "Did you find anything new?" Lena asked, clutching the bundle of letters and photographs she had taken from the farmhouse. Henry nodded. "I did some digging while you were gone. Turns out, the people Mary was trying to expose have fingers everywhere, politics, police, even local businesses." Lena swallowed hard. "That explains the threats. But why would they want Mary and Alice gone so badly?" Henry's gaze hardened. "Because Mary knew something that could bring them down. Something that's still hidden. The letters." Lena unfolded the brittle letters, reading aloud fragments of Mary's desperate pleas for help. One letter mentioned a place called the Sanctuary, described as a hidden meeting spot, a place where secrets were kept and decisions made. "If this sanctuary really exists, it could be the key to everything," Lena said. Henry pulled a small, worn notebook from his coat pocket. "I found this in an old case file. It belonged to a man named Thomas Greer, who disappeared shortly after Mary. He wrote about strange gatherings and whispered deals in the shadows. A dangerous plan. We need to find the sanctuary," Henry said. Lena nodded, determination burning in her eyes. "But we have to be careful. They're watching us." Suddenly, a noise behind the bushes startled them. A figure darted away into the darkness. "Did you see that?" Lena whispered. Henry cursed softly. "They know we're onto something." The tape revisited. Back at Lena's apartment, she inserted the mysterious tape into the player again, hoping for clues she might have missed. This time, the tape showed a brief, grainy shot of a heavily wooded area, a place that looked eerily like the outskirts of town. Mary's voice whispered over the static. Follow the path where the shadows meet. There you'll find the truth. March 22, 2010, 10:30 p.m. The night air was thick with mist as Lena and Henry parked their car near the edge of the forest shown on the tape. The trees loomed tall and dark, their twisted branches like skeletal fingers reaching out. Lena's heart hammered in her chest as they stepped off the path and into the shadows. "This is it," Henry whispered. "The place Mary called the sanctuary." They moved slowly, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet the only sound. Every snap of a twig made Lena jump. Suddenly, a faint light flickered through the trees ahead. They approached cautiously, hiding behind a thick oak. Through the branches, Lena glimpsed a circle of people. Faces obscured by darkness, voices low and urgent. At the center, an altar-like structure covered in strange symbols. "What is this?" Lena breathed. Henry's eyes were hard. "They're still meeting. After all these years." A chilling realization struck Lena: the disappearance of her mother and herself wasn't just a random tragedy. It was part of something far more sinister. Fear and doubt. As they retreated quietly, Lena's phone buzzed. A message popped up. "Leave now, or lose everything." She looked at Henry, fear and determination battling in her eyes. "We can't stop now." Henry nodded. "Not when we're this close." The weight of secrets. Back in her apartment, Lena stared at the old photographs again. Faces stared back at her, some familiar, many unknown. Among them was a man she recognized from the gathering, a prominent local official. Her mind raced with questions. How deep does this go? Who can I trust? And what will it cost to find the truth? Part 13, The Last Tape. March 26, 2010, 11 p.m. Lena sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, the flickering screen casting ghostly shadows on the walls. The last VHS tape rested carefully in the player. She hesitated before pressing play. Her fingers trembled. This was the moment she had both dreaded and longed for. As the grainy image flickered to life, Mary's voice filled the room, softer than before but filled with an unshakable strength. "To whoever finds this, know that I am alive, but trapped. The years between your world and mine have blurred, but my love for Alice and hope for justice keep me fighting." Mary's eyes, though tired, burned with fierce determination. The veil is more than a secret society. It's a force, a poison that seeps into every corner, feeding on fear and silence. They took us to silence the truth, but my story isn't finished. The confession. The tape showed Mary, hidden in a cramped room, walls covered with cryptic notes, newspaper clippings, and photos of powerful figures. Jonathan Myers, the man you suspect, is only one thread in a much larger web. They call him the architect for a reason. He built the network that controls everything: the media, the police, the courts. Mary's voice cracked slightly. "I found a way out once, but I chose to stay. Because running only lets them win. My daughter. I had to protect her. The secrets I left behind are pieces of a puzzle, dangerous pieces." Lena's inner turmoil. Lena paused the tape. Her chest tightened. The weight of her mother's words settled heavily on her shoulders. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I fail? But deep inside, a flicker of fierce resolve ignited. She could no longer be a bystander. The truth was painful, but it was hers to bear, and hers to fight for. The hidden map. Mary continued, showing a weathered map with locations marked in red: abandoned warehouses, safe houses, places of past disappearances. Follow these. Each one holds a piece of the truth. But be warned, they watch. They listen. The screen went dark. A new beginning. In the days that followed, Lena and Henry planned their next moves with painstaking care. Every lead was a risk. Every step forward brought new shadows. Yet, amidst the fear, Lena found unexpected strength, in memories of her mother's courage, in the support of allies like Henry, and in the flickering hope that one day, justice would come. Closing reflections. Lena looked out of her window, the city lights flickering like distant stars. Mom, I won't let your story end in silence. I will find the pieces. I will shine light into the darkness, no matter the cost. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and sacrifice. But it was hers to walk, for Alice, for Mary, and for the truth buried in the shadows of 1991. Epilogue: The Unseen Watchers. Unknown to Lena, far beyond the city, figures in the dark observed her every move. Quiet whispers echoed through empty halls. She's closer than ever. Prepare for the final act. The game was far from over.